Welcome to the World Sports Network NFL first round mock draft action. I'm your host and even number picker Tanner Kern, joined alongside Grant Mitchell, the odd number picker. How you doing, Grant?
Doing good, Tanner. So how it's going to work, everybody, is Tanner and I are assuming the roles of GMs throughout the league. Now, we're not going to make this a fantasy football draft. We're not going to go looking for sixth-round picks in the first round, but we are going to give you what we believe are going to be the best picks available in the first round, and we're going to go back and forth alternating turns. So like Tanner said, I have the odd pick, so I'm going 1, he'll be 2, I'll be 3, and we're going to work our way through the first round like that. And we are keeping trades alive, so it is possible that there are going to be some trades. We haven't really discussed if we're going to make any yet. It's going to be an in-the-moment decision. But yeah, that's how it's going to work. And Tanner, I am pretty damn excited to get this show on the road.
I'm pumped for this episode. It's going to be different, so let's get into it.
It is absolutely going to be different. And I am on the clock to start us off.
The pick is in. You already know who you're taking. Don't act like you're on the freaking clock right now. The pick is the number one pick has been set.
Oh, come on. You gotta run it down. What do they get 5 minutes, right? You gotta wait for like 4:58
first round.
Whatever it is, you gotta wait, and then the pick is in, and we gotta wait another 5 minutes. The Jeopardy theme music's playing in the background. But with the first overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama. He has been at the top of most people's draft boards for a while. CJ Stroud crept up there, but the betting odds have seen him fall way out. And you can't really find a single flaw in Young's tape. Yes, he's small, 5'11", and that is the biggest concern. But there is just simply no arguing with his production. He's going to be a culture changer. So he's going to the Panthers with the first pick, Tanner.
I don't like that pick at all. I hate it. I hate the fact that he went from, minus 110 last week to minus 2,500 this week to be the first pick in the draft. I don't like it. The short stature scares me.
Yeah, it is a little scary. Like there's no doubt about it. But if Drew Brees can have a Hall of Fame career, yes, that's asking for a lot. But Young has all the talent in the world, all you could ask for. Tanner, if I took Young number 1, I have a good feeling who you're taking number 2.
Yeah, you made my life easy. With the second pick in the WSN 2023 first round mock draft, the Houston Texans select CJ Stroud, quarterback, Ohio State. This is the quarterback that should have went first, but you're an idiot, Grant, and you left him on the board, so I took him. 2-time Heisman Trophy finalist, second in 2022, most passing touchdowns in a 2-year span in Big Ten history. Goes through his progressions well, has the arm, has the physical stature, can take off and run when you need him to. One weakness is not the best short passing thrower, but he can hit the long ball, and that's what you need in the NFL. Got to get more consistent early, but I love this pick at number 2.
Yeah, I was wondering to see if you were going to go with another position, but as soon as you said that you didn't like me going with Young number 1, obviously it had to be Stroud number 2. I don't believe that Will Levis is going to get that big jump. I definitely don't believe Anthony Richardson is going to get that big jump. So I think that's a pretty solid top 2 in whatever order, but if you look at the betting odds, then most of them have Bryce Young going number 1, CJ Stroud going number 2. Number 3, I have the Arizona Cardinals here. And for me, I don't know what you're thinking. You're not in charge of them. Obviously, I am. But for me, it's kind of an open and shut decision. I know some people have talked about them getting a quarterback because they're upset with Kyler and he has the injury problems and he doesn't get along with the coach or he doesn't develop the study habits. But they just locked this guy up for $250 million. There's no way they're plunging in the first round on a new quarterback. And I think that the most valuable, ready to plug and play, and also maybe the greatest potential of any defensive player is going to be Will Anderson Jr. This is a guy that has won every award in the book. You can go look at all the trophies that he accumulated at Alabama. 27.5 sacks in his last 2 years of football there, over 150 tackles. Yeah, he didn't play in the postseason in his final season, but he was good in the postseason before that. So I think the Cardinals here, they're going to get Will Anderson number 3, and they're going to get a lot better on the back of this pick alone.
Yeah, I like this pick. They need a defensive player, even though Kyler Murray's a big battlefield guy, big Call of Duty guy. I don't think they're going to go with the quarterback there, so I like that pick out of you, Grant. With the 4th pick in the 2023 World Sports Network mock draft first round, the Indianapolis Colts select Will Levis, quarterback,
Ooh,
Kentucky. I don't know why everybody wants Anthony Richardson. He's not going in the spot. He can't go in the spot, quite frankly, because he's not ready to play yet. And if you're not ready to play, you can't go to a team like the Colts expecting you to play right away. I'm not saying Will's ready to play either. I'm really not, because he's the most interesting quarterback in this draft because the tape doesn't match his physical attributes and his arm and his athleticism. If you watch what he did on tape last year, it wasn't very pretty, but he had no help. He had no offensive line. He had no receiving core. Out of all the quarterbacks, though, that are left, the two main ones being Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, you got to go with Levis in the spot, and the Colts need a quarterback.
I was wondering what you were going to do here because it could be a reach to get Levis, but if he turns into a multi-year Pro Bowl talent, then obviously it's not. But we know that first-round quarterbacks don't always have the greatest history of hitting, and Levis seems to be, alongside Richardson, one of those boom or bust type players. So I was really curious to see if you were going to go for it or not, and it looks like you did. So credit to you for having some balls.
How many first-round quarterbacks will actually work out in the scheme of the NFL? Like, how many of these top-tier first-round, first-pick guys actually work out?
I think it's probably 50%, maybe even a little less.
Which definitely isn't good when you're spending so much money and investing so much time into one guy.
No, definitely not at all. So I'm on the board here at number 5, and I am representing the Seattle Seahawks. And guys, by the way, if we're looking down at our screen, we're doing this live. So we're looking at draft boards, we're looking at our notes, we're consulting, we're looking at depth charts. You got to cut us a little bit of slack here. We're full-blown GMs today, not just of one team, but of 16. So it's going to take a little bit of work here. And what's taking me a little bit of work here is what I'm going to do with this pick for the Seahawks. Now, I know a lot of people have talked about Anthony Richardson potentially jumping up here, and maybe the Seahawks could get a little nervous because you just took Levis at 4. But they just signed Geno for 3 years, close to $100 million. I don't think they would quite be ready to do that next, especially since their defense was so bad. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go with the 5th overall pick in the WSN 2023 NFL Draft. I'm going to take an edge rusher, Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. I think he's a very versatile type player. I think he's going to be very good, especially with DeMeco Ryans coming in. He's going to want to get some young blood in there. The way that he moves around the field, I think, is going to be very important for them. He's got length. He's got quickness. Obviously, he's big and strong, too. You got to be to play on the defensive line. I think this is a good pick for them. I think this is a player who can also grow for them. I mean, the Texans obviously aren't trying to win. Excuse me, the Texans. The Seahawks aren't trying to win right away. I don't think. I know that they had a good year last year, but that was overachieving. They're still years away. So I think this is a good sort of player to build around for them.
I like it. Seattle needs any help they can get on defense, so I think it's a good play there. And another defensive lineman, not edge rusher, but defensive lineman might be coming off the board here, Grant, because you left the door open for Jalen Carter. So with the 6th pick, I don't want to jump the gun here. With the 6th pick in the WSN Mock Draft 2023 edition, building suspense. The Detroit Lions select Jalen Carter, defensive tackle, Georgia. Now, Jalen Carter, if he does not get into trouble, will be an all-pro player within the next few seasons. He is that talented. He's got the build. He's got the athleticism. He's got the physicality. He can rush the passer. He can play the run. The off-the-field issues are concerning. This is what Mel Kiper is going to be saying as soon as they go to him. He's not going to talk anything. He's going to say, this guy can ball, but the off-the-field issues. He does have some problems there. It doesn't look like it's caused him to fall on any of these analysts' mock draft boards. Like, he is the first defensive tackle coming off the board because the defensive tackle class this year just simply isn't that strong outside of him. Like, there's a big gap between Carter and the rest of the field. So I think someone's going to take a chance on him early.
Yeah, I think he has fallen slightly because there were talks about could he be the number 1 pick. Now, I wouldn't do that ever personally when you look at the quarterbacks that are available up there. But people were talking about, is he going to first fall out of the first round? That's probably not going to happen. He's probably going to be somewhere in that top 10. I think this is a pretty good landing spot for him because the Lions, they have, they're trying to build that nasty sort of profile. You just got Aiden Hutchinson to be the bookend on the other side. I like the pairing up there.
I love it. I think it's a great pick if they can keep him straight.
So I'm thinking long and hard about this one because I've got the Raiders at number 7. And they
long and hard.
They've got a lot of things that they've got a lot of holes that they could address. I'm thinking the line is one of the biggest issues. They also need some help on the back end of the defense. They're not I wouldn't say they're really in a win now mode. Jimmy G, I feel like, is almost a stopgap to the future. And Devontae Adams, you're paying a lot of money for him, and it stinks for him. Maybe he'll get frustrated and end up wanting his way out, but you're paying him so much money, and he's entering a stage of his career where I just don't think you can win with that. Not with Devontae, just with the contract and the overall situation of the team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help them build for the long term. Because with the 7th overall pick in the WSN 2023 NFL Draft, I'm going to go, the Las Vegas Raiders are going to go with Peter Skoronski, an offensive lineman from Northwestern. Now, he played tackle, spent a lot of time on the blind side. He's only 6'4", which might be big to us. Well, you're 6'4", too, but you're no longer 310 pounds like he is. But he is a little bit smaller in terms of length compared to the other players at his position. People have been talking about, could he move inside? Guess what? The Raiders could use help at every spot on the offensive line pretty much. So I think this is a good pick for them. It offers them some versatility and also some youth. And Jimmy G is extremely injury prone. This is another guy you can plug in to hopefully stop some of those holes. So yeah, Skoronski, 7th to the Raiders.
Great pick. He is the most talented offensive lineman in this draft. I don't know if he'll be the first one taken. It might be Paris Johnson, but he can play all 5 positions. He's nasty. He's gritty. Played Big Ten football. So love the pick out of you, Grant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm number 8 right now, the Atlanta Falcons. This is a good spot for a trade. It's a good spot for a trade.
Well, the Falcons, what do the Falcons need? I'm just trying to run through it in my head. They need a quarterback, but they signed Heineke, and they're probably going to play Ritter, and there's not really a quarterback you would take here. They could get an edge rusher, but yeah, I don't think this is a bad spot for a trade. I'm saying this like my input matters. This is your team, but I think this could be a trade spot.
So, you know who's trying to get after it this year? I'm thinking the Lions, trying to make a statement this year. This is the year that Dan Campbell's team makes a statement. So they're going to make a statement on opening night of the draft. They're going to trade. They're going to flip spots. So they're going to trade the 18th. And you have to approve this because this is the rules we made. The 18th, the 48th, and the 152nd pick. So we're going to go with that. I was playing this out when you were on your last pick.
Is that what you were Googling which picks they had? So
yeah,
that's going to be, correct me. So that's going to be a first, a second, and a 5th, I believe. First, a second, and a 5th. So the 18, the 48, the 152 for the number 8 pick.
Yeah.
Would the Falcons do that? I think it would depend on the team in this spot because the Falcons, like, they're rebuilding, but they're also not in.
They're not anywhere to win.
Yeah, they'll need to win, and there's not a top prospect on the board either. I mean, they're good players, don't get me wrong, but yeah, the Lions are trying to win now. Yeah, I will approve this trade for you. Go ahead.
With the 8th pick in the 2023 WSN NFL mock draft, the Detroit Lions select Devin Witherspoon, cornerback, Illinois.
That's a good pick.
Love this pick. Now, there are some problems with him. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's 6 feet tall, but he needs to add some more muscle to his body. Doesn't have the best speed in the world, but he is prepared and he will come down and stick you. And that's exactly what you need to do in the Big Ten to be successful, and that's what you need to do in the NFL. I want to see a cornerback that can not only cover, I want to see one that can tackle, because when there's plays in open space and you got to make them, Devin Witherspoon's going to make him. So I'm going to ride with him at this pick. I think it's a good spot for the Lions to trade. Obviously, on draft night, this might not happen, but Devin Witherspoon's probably going in the top 10. He's that good.
Yeah, the reason I do really like this as well is that the Lions traded Jeff Okudah, which I'm sure factored into your decision-making. So I think if you stick him over there with this, again, this young Lions team, I mean, you would add him to Jalen Carter and Aiden Hutchinson, and we saw how prolific that offense was. This would be a fun team to watch. I can't lie.
I love it. I love it.
2 picks in the top 8 as well. You don't see that a lot, so that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they're getting after it. That's what you got to do. I'm on to the next pick already, though.
I'm on to the next pick, and I'm representing the Chicago Bears here. I have beef with the city of Chicago, by the way. Tanner, have I ever told you the story of my 24th birthday?
No.
So I shouldn't spoil where I live. Let's say I was flying out of an airport near Washington, D.C., and my flight got canceled, and then I had to fly the next day. I was going to Colorado to see my mom, and the flight got canceled. So I had to rebook the ticket for the next day, which was my birthday. I go to the airport, my flight's canceled. They find me a new one. They send me to Chicago for a connection to Denver. The flight gets canceled. Once I'm in Chicago, they put me on standby. I stay in the airport until 10 p.m. and the plane I was on standby for, no seats open up. So now I'm spending my birthday alone in Chicago. Go to the hotel, come back the next day, spend all day in the airport. Flight gets canceled. They try to send me to Phoenix to put me on standby. I said, I'm already on standby here. Why am I going to Phoenix just to get back on standby? They finally route me through Oklahoma City. I show up to Denver at like 8 p.m. and my bags never came from Chicago. It was a week-long trip. I lost a day stuck in Chicago, and my bags didn't show up until the 4th day of the trip. So I have problems with the city of Chicago, but I'm going to do my best to put it behind me for the sake of
so
New Year's
cool.
here.
You're really cool.
Yeah, I'm just flying all over the country. Yeah, getting delayed everywhere. It just makes me so cool. Okay, I've been rambling long enough. I've also been trying to buy myself some time to think about the pick I'm going to make here. And maybe you've convinced me. Maybe I was just the thoughts I had in the back of my head. But Paris Johnson Jr., I think, is a good prospect here. So, with the 9th overall selection in the 2023 NFL WSN draft, the Chicago Bears select Paris Johnson Jr., offensive lineman from Ohio State. Now, this is a big kid, and he's still going into that frame. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. His technique is good. Could be a little bit improved upon. But the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields was tied with Russell Wilson for the most sacks taken by any quarterback in the league last year. People were talking about, could they get him a playmaker there? But I think with the receiving core they have now in place, they traded for DJ Moore. They traded for Chase Claypool last year. They still got Darnell Mooney. I don't think you want to disrupt that or invest a draft pick on that at this spot. So I'm going to go with Johnson. We're going to protect our young asset in Justin Fields, and that's going to be the number 9 pick.
It's a good pick. So I had Skronsky going, or I would have had Skronsky going there in my just mock drafts that I was doing. I didn't think the Raiders would grab him there like you had him, but both are in market for an offensive lineman, and that's definitely a good pick. They need one. Got to protect Justin Fields. If you can get Justin Fields going and give him a little time in the pocket, he's just going to be deadly.
Yep, 100%. He was one of the most exciting players in the back half of last season.
Definitely. Now, number 10 is an easy pick for me. I've had this one in my mind, and I think it's the first team that really is in the market for this kind of player. So with the 10th pick in the WSN 2023 mock draft, NFL first round mock draft, the Philadelphia Eagles, your reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champions.
NFC champions.
Will be Super Bowl champions. I just got carried away because of Jalen Hurts' contract. Bijan Robinson, running back, Texas. Good pick right here. Bijan Robinson is a difference maker, running back. He's going to go in the top 10, in my opinion. It's a great spot for him. Miles Sanders departed in free agency, is now with the Carolina Panthers. Could be a sneaky good team in an NFC South. That's really not good, but that's a side note. Without Miles Sanders there, the Eagles need to fill this void 100% because they're a running team. They're run-oriented, and Sanders played a huge role, not only catching the ball in the backfield, running the ball. He did it all, and Bijan Robinson is a guy that can do that and simulate what you got out of Sanders last season. You're going to get an even more experienced Jalen Hurts. That's going to give Bijan Robinson some time to develop. You get a great veteran leader presence at quarterback there with Jalen Hurts as well. That's going to help Robinson. It's a great situation for him to walk into. And if there's a team that's taking a running back in the top 10, it will be the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I love this pick. I'm betting this personally. Last time I checked, you could get this pick for plus 500 odds. And I think that's great value with the system that the Eagles have. Jalen Hurts, we know, was injured a lot of times last season, especially in the playoffs. He had to miss a couple of games at the end of the regular season. You lost Miles Sanders. You need somebody to come in and be that bell cow for you. And Bijan Robinson isn't just a running back. You know, he's a big, strong running back. You can let him run it on 3 downs in a row, and he'll be just fine. So I think this is a great pick for the Eagles here.
Thank you. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Because you're an Eagles fan, right?
Right now, I am an Eagles. I have an Eagles sweatshirt. What do you have? You have an Eagles sweatshirt? I don't think you do.
This is a Clubber Lang shirt. I'm being the villain from the Rocky movies.
Doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Okay, well, Tanner, let me let you know a little secret here. I just
11,
accidentally closed out my sheet with my notes on it, so I'm trying to quickly reopen that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we are at number 11 here, which is the Tennessee Titans, and this is an interesting pick because I know what I'm going to do here. I know what the Titans are going to do. I'm calling it right now. There are a lot of options that are available to them. I feel like this is a team that doesn't really have any sort of obvious direction. I like their coach. They've got some good defensive pieces. They've got some holes. Their offense has some good spots, but their best offensive player is Derrick Henry, and he's a running back, and he's getting older, and he just broke his foot, and probably want to move on from him. You have a quarterback who isn't terrible, but isn't going to win you anything. What are they going to do here? I'll tell you what they're going to do. With the 11th overall pick in the 2023 WSN NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Anthony Richardson, quarterback, University of Florida. Richardson is a physical specimen. He's an athletic freak. Now, the production was good, but this is a pick that's based on, it's a boomer bust pick. This is a pick based almost entirely off of potential. Richardson wowed so many people at the combine, whether it was him running a 4.40, whether it was him doing a standing backflip after in celebration. He's a project, but he's got so much potential. And I know the Titans just invested an early pick, a day 2 pick on Malik Willis last year. When Malik Willis was on the field, he looked truly terrible. Is it unfair to judge somebody who was playing at Liberty and then all of a sudden gets thrown into the NFL? Maybe a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit harsh, but they're both projects. What do you always say, Tanner? Hungry dogs run faster. I feel like they're going to be able to battle it out. And at least one of those two guys is going to pan out. And with no other clear sort of sense of direction, I feel like this is the spot that Richardson is going to go.
Yeah, I like it. I like Richardson in the spot. I mean, everyone's talking about him. He's going to go in the top 15 picks, I would say, because he's just a physical freak of nature, and GMs don't want to miss out on that kind of potential. So I like the pick there. Number 12, Houston Texans. They already got CJ Stroud. We've seen it. A lot of these teams love to pair up quarterbacks and receivers in the first round. It's worked out well for a lot of teams over the past few seasons. With the 12th pick in the WSN mock draft first round NFL edition, the Houston Texans select Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver, Ohio State. I love Njigba. If I start talking fast, I might say his name wrong. So Njigba. I'm not even gonna say his name one more time because I don't want to mispronounce it as a disrespect to my new star wide receiver. He's not the shiftiest guy in the world. He's not a great athlete per se in what we're talking about with these like elite wide receivers, but he's got really good straight line speed and he's got good yard after the catch ability. He can do one cut and get going. He's not going to run through tacklers that much because he just needs to put on a little more weight there. But he had a very, very good season. Obviously, they want to pair up. If they can get CJ Stroud to pair up with him, that would be just heavenly for them. So I think it's a really good pick, especially if Houston goes CJ Stroud number 2, which we fully expect them to. Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be that guy playing receiver, helping him out.
So number 12, we've got the first wide receiver going. This is one of those markets that you watch sometimes. The receivers and the running backs, I feel like they're sort of important because when the first one goes, that kind of opens up the floodgates for the others. So I'm interested to see where the other guys are going to go. I would take him as the first wide receiver off the board as well. You're in charge of the Texans, so I haven't really been breaking down what I would do for them, but it's an interesting pick. I could see them also going with a defensive guy in this situation, but I think this is good. I think this is a solid pick. With what's going on with the Justin Jeffersons of the world, with the Jamar Chases of the world, you want to get a young wide receiver in there to help out your guy. So I can understand where you're coming from with that.
And they already got that chemistry too, so.
Okay, let's see. At number 13, I have the New York Jets. Now, this is interesting because Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be on his way to town, but it's a real game of cat and mouse going on between the Jets and the Packers. I personally believe that the Jets, there's no real reason for them to make this trade before the draft because both parties want it to happen, but the Jets would be better suited waiting to see what they can address with the draft before they go into free agency and all that. And then they would be able to trade their picks next year, not in this one, when they want to get some assets to pair up with Rodgers. So assuming Aaron Rodgers is going there, it sort of alters my thinking into going with, I think, the position they're in need of the most, and that makes the most sense given the people on the board in this situation, is offensive line. So with the 13th pick in the WSN NFL 2023 draft, the New York Jets select Darnell Wright, an offensive tackle from the University of Tennessee. Now, this could surprise some people because Wright could rise and also fall on draft day. He's not the best technician, and he can be a little inconsistent at times, but he's a big dude. He can play outside. A team that already has Mekhi Becton, I think they're really going to value that size. And you get him in the right weight room and with the right coaches, they're going to be able to get that technique just up to speed. Now, he is extremely powerful. He drives through people. I think that's going to be really important. He isn't the best at guarding against bendy people sort of off the edge, but Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out fast enough that I don't think that's going to become a huge problem. You know, if this was a mobile quarterback, then maybe we're having a different conversation, but I think he's enough of an anchor to hold up. And he's got a lot of potential just because of his frame. So Darnell Wright, 13th to the Jets.
Good pick. I'm happy you made that pick because the New England Patriots are in the market for an offensive lineman as well to protect Mac Jones. And I was not thinking Darnell Wright. I was thinking another offensive lineman. So with the 14th pick in the WSN 2023 NFL mock draft, the New England Patriots select Broderick Jones, offensive tackle, Georgia. Broderick can ball, man. He's physically gifted. That's the biggest accolade that I can give to him. He is a physical specimen. He ran a 4.97 at the combine. He's got to become a better technician. That's been his biggest issue over the years. He's got to become better technically than he was even last season, because in the NFL, technique matters, right? Everyone's strong. Where at Georgia, he was able to win with just strength half the time. He did not allow a sack in every single kick or every single pass block snap he had last season. That was 449. He is a specimen that needs to become a better technician, but he's physical. He's nasty. We know the Patriots love taking offensive linemen. They love taking offensive linemen from Georgia, who played at the University of Georgia. So this is a very suitable pick for New England.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. And the Patriots are willing to take gambles with positions like this. And I think he's not Anthony Richardson in terms of boom or bust by any stretch of the imagination, but just in the simple fact that they lack some of the technique that their compatriots have, but they have all these physical gifts. I think this does make sense there. And the Patriots, Mac Jones is there, but is Mac Jones the long-term future? The reports are they were shopping him around this summer. So I think you can afford for him to come in and not be the best in his first year. I also think that this guy needs to improve as a run blocker. I think driving forward, he might not be the best, but physical tools are there, like you said. And I think it's going to, I like a lot of these linemen in this draft. And I also think like linemen, in the early rounds at least, is more of a safer position to sort of evaluate than others. So I think this is a solid pick for a team that needs line help.
Yeah, I like it. So we got him at 14. You're up 15. And then the final, 14 picks of the draft, the clock becomes a little quicker here.
So we're going to have to speed it up a little bit.
That's how we're doing it. That's how we're doing
the
clock.
We're making decent time here. We're doing all right. Okay, so 15th pick, the Green Bay Packers. This is the flip side of the Jets coin that I was just on, because if they get rid of Rodgers, they really have no reason to hold on to the veterans that they have. The Packers, they could use a wide receiver. So the Quentin Johnsons of the world, the Jordan Addisons of the world, those guys are in play. They could maybe invest in a tight end. I'm trying to run through some of the top picks on the board here, because maybe you're just a little bit of a quicker evaluator than I am, or maybe you stick to your gut more, but I want to review all my options. But I think I know which one I'm going to go with. I know which one the Green Bay Packers are going to go with. With the 15th pick in the WSN NFL draft. Do we need to do this every time? I feel like it's getting a little redundant.
I'm doing it. I like doing it. I think it's cool.
With the 15th pick in the WSN 2023 NFL draft, the Green Bay Packers select Christian Gonzalez, a defensive back out of Oregon. Now, this is somebody who's ranked very highly in the overall prospect grading if you take out the position, and even higher than 15 for a lot of people. So I think if him slipping here to these guys would be very good for them. Now, they've already got some solid players in the secondary, Jair Alexander being the standout. But you can never help getting younger, or you never want to not get younger if you have the opportunity to. I feel like this is somebody who put together quite an impressive tape when they're in college. And without Rodgers, there's not really any sort of pressure. That's always a good situation to step in. So, yeah, we're going to bolster the secondary here, and we're going to take Gonzalez for the Packers.
I like it. I think the D-backs are going to start coming off the board because the Washington Commanders also need a D-back. They need help everywhere, Grant. I'd say that's an absolute abomination of a franchise. They're
Listen,
terrible.
that's my team for all the listeners out there who don't know that. Unfortunately, I would claim another team if I could, but the Commies are unfortunately my team. We need help everywhere. Like, simply put, I'm just praying Eric Bieniemy pulls a rabbit out the hat this year and we get the new owners in place soon.
Grant, they have more name changes than playoff wins in recent memory.
Yeah, we've probably had more ACL tears. Like, there's all sorts of stuff you can find.
And sadly for this player, he's going to have to go to a dog water franchise like the Washington Commanders. But with the 16th pick in the WSN 2023 NFL first round mock draft, the Washington Commanders, probably one of the worst franchises in NFL history, will select Deonte Banks, defensive back, Maryland. Banks was hurt all last season, basically. So he's a perfect fit for this Commanders team because nothing goes right for him. That was one of my reasons I picked him here. But he's very good when he's on the field. Gets hurt a lot, though. That is my biggest fear. He's got really good top-end speed. He can play really well in man coverage. He does get a little handsy on the deep ball, but he's physical. And he can run with receivers in the NFL, which is what he needs to. 4.3, 540. Very talented, very speedy. Just gets hurt. That's my biggest fear here. But again, the commies won't care. They'll go for him.
I mean,
and hometown Maryland. He's hometown Maryland right there.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we signed Curtis Samuel. We got JD McKissick. Like, we love fast guys that can't play because they pull their hamstrings. So he will be perfect there. No, but this is a good player. I think he's definitely in contention with some of the other guys that have been on the board, and one that's probably going to go pretty soon, who I don't want to put his name out there in case you're thinking about him because I want him for my team. But yeah, this would be a solid pick for the Commanders. We need help all over the field. We've lost some depth in the secondary recently, so solid pick.
Good.
Okay, now that was 16. So we're done with the first half of this first round, and we're going to try to speed it up just a little bit, like you said. So I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 17. And there's a player that I really like here. I'm going to be honest. This one sticks out to me. This is a player, well, I'll do the whole little spiel. With the 17th pick in the 2023 NFL WSN draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Brian Branch, a defensive back from Alabama. What do we love about Alabama guys? They come into the league ready to play because not only are they surrounded by NFL talent every day, but they're under an NFL coaching regimen. They're going hard in practice. He's going to come into the league. He's going to be smart. He's very fluid coming in and out of his transitions. He's got the speed, but every once in a while he struggles to catch up to top gear. He gives up the deep ball every now and then. He isn't the best tackler in the world, but going to a system like the Steelers have in place where you've got Coach Tomlin, that's a very hard-nosed organization. I feel like it's going to be perfect for him. And guess what? You had Minkah Fitzpatrick over there. He was the same sort of, is he going to be corner? Is he going to be safety? He goes to Alabama, comes to the Steelers. He's one of the best in the league. I feel like it's almost a spitting image of that. So we're going to go with Brian Branch, Steelers, 17th overall.
I think that's a really good pick. I mean, if you're going for a defensive back, you want one that played at Alabama because Nick Saban's coached him up. So I think this is a great pick. The Pittsburgh Steelers need help on defense. They need a guy that's going to shut the door, and he's that guy, especially in the back end. With the 18th pick, I'm questioning what I want to do here because this is the Falcons pick. If we remember, this was traded. So the Lions traded the 18th, the 48th, and the 152nd to the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons are in a decent spot here. Like you said, they could use a quarterback. All the quarterbacks we've been talking about are off the board, though. The first-round talent, at least. They really need some help on defense, and they're not in a position to win right away. So I think they're willing to get a guy that they could develop. And that guy with the 18th pick in the WSN 2023 mock draft NFL first round edition, Brian Breesy. Falcons select Brian Breesy, defensive tackle, Clemson. Brian Breesy, just very physical. That's his biggest strength. He's just a natural athlete. He moves well. He can take on double teams, which is exactly what you want in the NFL because these guys are so hard to move. So offensive linemen need to double team. He's got long arms. He can push. It looks like he's bench pressing half the time when he interacts with the offensive line. Boom. So I love that. He's very fast. He ran under a 5. He was a 4.86. His quickness off the first step isn't great. He's not going to go sideline to sideline for you as quickly as you'd like him to. I think that can be a trait that's developed, but he's physical inside, and that's exactly what they need here.
Yeah, what I would be worried about with this pick, this is the first pick. I probably haven't said good pick because I think there's been a lot of good picks so far. This could turn into a good pick, and I think it is good that he's going to a situation, like you said, where the Falcons already traded back, so they're not only not expecting a ton maybe from this pick, but from this, this upcoming season. The NFC South is just, oh boy. We could have a team go a couple games under 500 to make the playoffs. His production at Clemson wasn't the best. Now, he was part of a good defense, and I feel like that's always important, even if you're not producing, because good defenses, you can get carried on a defense with stars, but if you're just a good player on a good defense, you have to be doing your job to some extent. Now, I do think he is more of that project mold, like you were talking about, and I don't think he has, certainly not the top potential as one of the top guys at his position, like a Jalen Carter, but couple of years down the road, this could turn out to be a good pick. It's just going to depend on how they develop him, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he's a guy that's physical, though, and that's something you can't teach. I think he's going to be ready to go here for the Falcons. It's a good pick because there's not a lot of great defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen on the board this year.
So I've got the number 19 pick, and I'm going with what are they? They're the once removed, who won the Super Bowl 2 years ago? Was it the
Bucks? No,
it was the Rams. Okay, so the twice removed world champion, Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Champion. Baker Mayfield's world champion, Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Respect us.
Are you sure? What if it's Kyle Trask's world champion?
No, it's not going to be Kyle Trask. It's going to be Baker Mayfield, okay?
Okay, well, it's going to be Baker Mayfield, and I'll tell you what, he's going to get some help on the offensive line. We're having a run at offensive linemen here. Over on the offensive lineman picked in the first round. Be interested to know what that line is because I feel like we're kind of going over here. We're going to get him somebody who's sort of from the same mold as Breesy, as you were just talking about. With what pick are they? The 19th? With the 19th overall pick in the 2023 NFL WSN draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Super Bowl champions of 2 years ago, select Anton Harrison, a tackle from Oklahoma. Now, the Bucs guys on the line, they're getting older. They're getting banged up. They've had retirements. They've had season-ending injuries. This is a position that needs to be bolstered. Now, there are a lot of the Super Bowl core for the Bucs is slowly disintegrating. I feel like you're starting to see that happen with the offensive line too. It's a little bit delayed compared to some of the other position groups, but it's catching up to them. Harrison is a very talented player. He has very good size, very good length. I am a bit worried because he wasn't the best at dealing with power rushers. And when you're in the division with the Saints, you got somebody like Cam Jordan flying at you. That could be a problem. But like we were saying, there's no pressure to be good immediately. He doesn't even have to start in the first year. He most likely will, but you could get away with some subpar performances from him. Give him a couple years to develop, just like with Breesy, and I think this could turn out to be a pretty good pick for them. And there's also been a rush on linemen. Like the Bucs need help at line. They just kind of got to get this guy while they can.
The Bucs are rebuilding too. They're at a point where their franchise is good enough to be good in the coming seasons. They have enough momentum there. People love Tampa Bay Buccaneers football right now, and you got to thank Tom Brady for that. But they got to win within the next couple seasons. This is going to be like a rebuilding year for them, I think. But they're in a position to be good, and this is a good pick because they can develop Antoine Harrison. So I like the play. With the 20th pick, I'm going offensive lineman because they're all flying off the board, and I don't want to lose another one. With the 20th pick in the WSN mock draft, first round, NFL, Seattle Seahawks select Osiris Torrance, offensive tackle, Florida. I got a good quote here. Ready for this, Grant?
Let's hear it.
So they asked him why they feel he should be drafted first, why he should be the first offensive lineman or whatever, or why he should be drafted. Because I'm the most dominant interior offensive lineman in the draft, and I feel like any team that gets me will get a day one starter and someone who is ready to play. He's got confidence. He's got the swagger. He played in the SEC. He's played against really good defensive linemen. He's physical. Again, technician-wise, he's got to improve there. He really does. He's 6'5", 347 pounds. He's physical. And a lot of these guys this year have won with physicality, but they need to win with their technique as well when they get to the next level. I do think he's going to be physically okay. It's just that technique scares me a little bit, but he is the 23rd ranked prospect according to CBS. He'll be fine. It's going to take a little while, but I like the pick to protect Geno Smith.
And for everybody out there who hasn't tuned into one of Tanner and I's podcasts or whatever videos before, Tanner was a Division I offensive lineman. So this is valuable information that you should be writing down. I think this is a good pick for the Seahawks here. They've got a lot of problems. They could address some needs on the defense, but they also haven't been the best on offense. And they're in another scenario. I was actually talking about them when I had their pick earlier on. Yeah, they won games last year, but they're not necessarily in win now mode. They also need some big burly guys to hold up against the pass rushers in that division. If Will Anderson gets picked third to the Cardinals, like I was saying, then you're going to have him. You've got Nick Bosa. You've got really anybody, the 49ers lineup. The Seahawks could use some help there. And with the run on the offensive lineman, this makes sense.
Yeah, let's ride.
Tanner, I want to do something here.
What do you want to do?
You might call me crazy. This is something that I was thinking about before the show. I want to get your thoughts on it. So I'm gonna request that we make our second trade of the first round, and I control both of these teams, so I need you to approve it. The Los Angeles Chargers have the 21st pick, and they also have somebody who doesn't really want to be there anymore. He goes by the name of Austin Eckler. Maybe you've heard of him.
Mm-hmm. Good
running back, not the best. Somehow the best fantasy football player that's ever existed whenever he plays. The Chargers could get some picks here. They could definitely make some picks here. But I feel like there are guys coming up later that they would be interested in. And this is a prime spot for wide receivers. And I'm looking at some of these teams that are coming up that need receivers. And ironically, you know what team needs receivers more than anybody in the league? It's the Super Bowl champions. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm going to propose a blockbuster trade. The Kansas City Chiefs trade the 31st pick and the 63rd. So that's their first and their second. A 2024 first and a 2025 second to the Los Angeles Chargers for their 21st pick in Austin Eckler. So that would be the Chiefs' first and second in this draft, a future first and a future second for the 21st pick in Austin Eckler.
I think it's fair.
Do you think this trade could ever happen?
I do, because Austin Eckler doesn't want to be in LA. And like I said, I don't think the Chargers need a guy right here. They could wait later to get a running back, because running backs are not flying off the board besides Bijan Robinson. So I think it's a good trade, Grant.
If this happens, man, let's go ahead and make the pick here, and then I'll talk about it some more. With the 21st overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs, by way of the Los Angeles Chargers, select Quentin Johnson, wide receiver, Texas Christian University. Think about the national championship game. Who on TCU looked like they belonged in the NFL? Wasn't a lot of people when they were lined up against those Georgia boys, but Quentin Johnson was out there balling. Quentin Johnson was balling in the national semifinal. Quentin Johnson was balling all year long. If this happens, the Chiefs now have Austin Eckler and they have Quentin Johnson. Those weapons for Mahomes just got so much better, and they're not that expensive. Eckler's going to want big money, but he's not going to be asking for enormous money. He's not going to be the highest paid player in his position in the league. Quentin Johnson's going to be on a rookie contract. That's a lot cheaper than signing Odell, like you were talking about, who ended up going for $18 million. And he's a decade younger than Odell, and he's probably better than Odell. And like we were talking about with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, you bring in a young wide receiver, and look what they can do for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes had Tyreek Hill. We saw the success that he had with him. Tyreek Hill is better than Quentin Johnson right now, but Quentin Johnson is taller. He's more physical. This could really open up the playbook, and the Chiefs would be nasty on offense with this trade.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. I think they're going to have to give up a little more than what you gave up, but I like it.
There we go. Book it in. Quentin Johnson and Eckler to the Chiefs. I'm excited about that one.
All right, Grant. Let's roll through these. The clock's coming quicker now. Let's get it. With the 22nd pick in the WSN NFL mock draft, The Baltimore Ravens select Zay Flowers, wide receiver, Boston College, first team all-ACC selection. He's BC's all-time leader in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He's got fast twitch speed, and that's exactly what you want to see. He's got great yak skills because he's so shifty. He's an amazing route runner. The biggest issue with him is he's got a small frame. He does have some easy drops, which you're going to have drops, but I'm not as worried about that as his small frame, and his catch radius just isn't the biggest in the world just because of that. But agility-wise, speed-wise, possession-wise, getting downfield, tucking and getting straight downfield, like he is a guy that's going to help them a lot.
Yeah, this is a very good player. Being a Virginia Tech alum, I saw a lot of him in the ACC. I was happy to see him getting his respect when the draft profiles came out. This is a very good player. He's definitely going to help them out. And the Ravens are going to want to get more weapons to help out Lamar. First of all, they want to entice him to come back, but we've seen that they haven't had weapons for him to throw to in the past, so this would be a big deal for them. And I know who I'm going to take for my 23rd pick, and it's going to be a big deal for them, because the Minnesota Vikings had one of the worst defenses in NFL history, pass defenses in NFL history last year. And with the 23rd overall pick in the WSN NFL 2023 draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Joey Porter Jr., defensive back, Penn State. They're getting a steal by him sliding this late. This guy could go close to the top 10, if not in it, to be honest. He just happens to have fallen down the board. He's very, very physical. Everybody knows about the legend that is his father, one of the biggest alphas there is to ever play the game. Joey Porter Jr. is going to come in. He's not only going to change the complexion of the defense just on his attitude and physicality alone, but he's a very good player. He's an impact player. And when your defense gave up more passing yards than any team in the league, anything is going to help. Now, he can get burned on the deep ball because he's not quite as shifty as you would like him to be against top wideouts, but he's a safety. He's not a corner. He's not going to spend a ton of time guarding them in man coverage. So I think this is going to be something that works out for a team that really needs help on the back end.
I like it. I think it's a good pick. They're terrible on defense. You bet quarterback overs last year for their passing yards just because they couldn't defend anyone. I mean, the Vikings were the worst, best team in the NFL. They found ways to win games with their offense, but defensively they didn't work, and that's why they didn't make any kind of run. Okay, so with the 24th pick, Jacksonville has a desire to go with the defensive side of the ball. We saw last year what they did with Trayvon Walker, obviously. Went after him. This year, they're going to go after a similar kind of player in Myles Murphy. With the 24th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Myles Murphy, edge, Clemson. Myles Murphy was part of a really good defense with Clemson, as we were talking about earlier. Effective with his hands off the edge. He can play power, he can rush with speed, and he can go speed to power, which is something you don't really find. One of the top edge rushers in this draft. I do think he has the ability to start next year and be a force, kind of like Aiden Hutchinson, maybe not to the same degree, but he's gonna make this defense a lot better. And as we saw, Jacksonville's defense started the year very weak. They got better and better as the season went on, and we know they can score on offense. So I think they're really going to emphasize their defense this year, and Porter's going to be a big part, or not Porter, Myles Murphy is going to be a big part of that.
I think he impressed me more in the games that I watched than Breesy, so I do like him as a player, and I think this is a good spot for him. I was wondering if you were going to go with a receiver or maybe even a tight end, even though they have Evan Ingram, because you want to get your young guys weapons. And yeah, you have Calvin Ridley coming back, but we don't know how he's going to be. But I think this is a good pick. I think this makes sense for the Jags. Any sort of consistency on that defense is definitely going to help, and it's going to be good for them. But it's also going to be good for the New York Giants because, Tanner, I know where I'm going right away with this one. With the 25th overall pick in the 2023 WSN NFL Draft, the New York Giants select wide receiver from Southern California, Jordan Addison. This is a former Biletnikoff winner, just a phenomenal talent at the position. And the Giants, they need to give Daniel Jones somebody to throw the ball to. They had one of the worst receiving corps ever last year. And with Daniel Jones, you just paid him this money. I thought a little prematurely. I thought they should have franchise tagged him and gave him a 1-year do or die period, because last year he improved as a passer. He had the 6th best quarterback in rating football. Sure, I get all that, but he still had 15 touchdowns in 17 games. That's not what you want somebody who's not making that much less money than Patrick Mahomes. That's not what you want to see from him. So I think they jumped the gun on that a bit. But with Addison, you're really going to be able to find out, is Jones the guy or not? And Jones is going to have trade value if you decide that you do want to move on from him in a couple of years. But Addison's going to be somebody that you can build around. Again, another playmaker, and he's going to be on a rookie contract, so he's going to be very cheap for them. I think this is a great spot.
Yeah, if the Giants don't get a receiver, Daniel Jones should just quit he should just quit the team, honestly. If they don't get someone that can help him out offensively with some weapons, because he had no weapons last year and he was as good as you were going to get without weapons last season. So they got to start giving him some stuff in his arsenal to be better. Speaking of arsenals, Dak Prescott needs something in his arsenal. I was thinking to go with a running back here, but again, first round running backs just come to the NFL and die. Basically, look at Todd Gurley. So I don't want to waste the pick on a running back. I want to waste it on someone like a Jason Witten per se, that's going to be there for a long time and be very successful with this team.
Well, which one's it going to be? Because you got a couple up there you can pick from.
With the 26th pick in the WSN NFL mock draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Michael Mayer, tight end, Notre Dame. Best pick. His biggest issue is his ability to not get up the field. So we'll start with the issue. His inability to catch the ball and turn up the field. Yards after the catch was a major issue for him. It was not as good as you would think it was for someone of his size and caliber and speed. But with that being said, he is physical and he can block. That's something that we don't see with a lot of tight ends in today's game, and his hands are amazing. He's going to catch everything in sight. He's got a great catch radius. Just needs to work on the yards after the catch, but you're getting 2 or 3 there. You're getting a guy that can block, which is so valuable in the NFL. You look at like a Travis Kelce who can do it all right. He can get after you, and in the trenches, he can also catch passes. I see him being this kind of guy without that yard after the catch ability, and that could develop, and the Cowboys need another weapon.
Tanner, the guy who's best at it that you didn't even mention, George Kittle. I mean, his fantasy owners get so frustrated with him sometimes because he spends all the game blocking, because he's just another offensive tackle. He can be one of the best receiving tight ends in the league when he wants to, but he's so valuable there. And that's why Jason Witten is such an accurate comparison too, because Witten was the same thing. They wouldn't need to bring in extra offensive linemen and jumbo packages. They would just have Jason Witten blocking on the goal line. And yep. Jason Witten, obviously one of the best tight ends ever, could catch anything that was thrown at him. Most people have Meyer going as the top tight end, so a couple names that you could pick for, but that's probably the safest one. And I understand, I think Dallas would be a good landing spot for him. Tanner, I am going to take issue with something you said, though, because while you might be right about first-round running backs not historically panning out the best or having the longest lifespan, with the 27th overall pick in the 2023 WSN NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Jahmyr Gibbs, running back from Alabama. Tanner, these are the Bama boys. These are your crew. You love these guys. They come into the NFL ready to play. What I love about Gibbs is he is so versatile. Now, you're not going to be running him between the numbers. You could every once in a while if you wanted to, but that's not where he's going to earn his paycheck. What he's going to be able to do for this Bills team is, keep in mind, the Buffalo Bills are ridiculously explosive. They want to take the top off of everybody you can. And yes, it's nice to have somebody that you can pound it through the A-gaps, and you can have those short yardage situations, force the defense to collapse. Lately, that's been Josh Allen doing all that work, and Gibbs that's not going to be where he thrives. But you can have so many opportunities to get him in space, running to the outside as a receiver out of the backfield. This is a guy who returned kicks in college and was very good at it too. Super versatile, 4.3 speed. He's going to be a weapon and somebody that you have to account for as a defense. And when you're already trying to stop Josh Allen, who's literally a one-man army sometimes, I think this helps out tremendously for the Bills, given their limitations on the ground.
I like it. When you give Josh Allen additional help with the running back position, it's just going to make this offense so much better. They were just a quality team last year. They just can't beat the Bengals, so maybe Gibbs will help them do that. 28, Grant, we're getting there. 28 with the 28th pick in the WSN NFL mock draft. The Cincinnati Bengals, probably the best team in the NFL, the best team, the greatest team. I love Joe Burrow. Has a new weapon.
Oh, Burrow.
Dalton Kincaid, tight end, Utah. I like Kincaid. I don't like him as much as Mayer. I love Kincaid's ability to make contested catches. Is not as good of a blocker as Mayer, though. That's the biggest separation I see between these two guys. He's not going to sustain his blocks in the run game. He's going to be scrappy. He's going to mix it up, get to the second level well. But when it comes to just blocking right off the football, not the guy that Mayer is doing that. Very fast. He's probably faster. He's a little more agile in space. Doesn't get a lot of separation down the field sometimes on the vertical routes, which you got to run in the NFL. But he's going to make all the plays that he's supposed to make. Got to work on his blocking a little bit. But Bengals just need another weapon. I mean, if you add him with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, it's just magic.
Yeah, he's one of those Utah boys. We don't normally think of the Pac-12 as being the nasty conference, but the Utah program traditionally has some nasty guys in it, and he's one of those. Going to the Bengals, look, you got Joe Burrow on that offense. There's already a lot of things to account for, and we saw Joe Burrow got better when Jamar Chase went out of the lineup early in the year when he was injured. And now I'm not saying that Burrow's better without Chase, obviously. I'm just saying you know what he can do. So the more weapons, the merrier. This is a team that you're going against the Chiefs. I don't know what your approach would be if you were the coach or the GM going against the Chiefs. I feel like there's really nothing you can do to stop them. So you just want to make your offense as good as you possibly can, and this helps them do that.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Okay, so now we're moving in towards the end of the draft here, and I got to keep reminding myself we got 31 picks, not 32, because the Miami Dolphins were tampering and lost their first-round pick. With the 29th pick in the WSN NFL 2023 draft, the New Orleans Saints are going to pick up Lucas Van Ness, an edge rusher from Iowa. Tanner, what did we know about Iowa? They just don't let people score. They had the third lowest points per game allowed, 14.2. This guy was a big part of that. 7 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons. He is a 6'5", 270-pound edge rusher. He's not one of these 230, 240-pound guys that we see come flying off the edge. Even though he can fly, this isn't what you're going to get from him. He's a big, strong guy. Now, what I do worry about with him is that he can beat his man a lot of the times, but he isn't the best at getting to the quarterback on the back of that. So that foot speed and some of that technique as well, just the ability to, when you're getting past the blocker, the ability to cut angles, get to the quarterback, that's going to be super important for him. But he's going to the Saints, a team that, even though it's a terrible division and the Saints aren't necessarily under pressure to win, you probably are going to favor them to win that division. And you also got guys like Cam Jordan that you can learn from on that line. I think it's going to be a good pickup for them.
Yeah, I like the Cam Jordan connection. That's going to help for sure, help mentor him a little bit. But I do think the Buccaneers will easily win this division, Grant, because the Buccaneers are the best team in the division. But good pick. Iowa was very good on defense last year. Van Ness was a big part of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanner. What do you got for us here?
With the 30th pick, my final pick in the WSN draft, the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning defending NFC champions of the world, select Kalijah Kancey, defensive lineman, Pittsburgh. This is the first unanimous All-American at Pitt since Aaron Donald. One problem is he looks just like Aaron Donald. And not many players in the NFL can make it looking like Aaron Donald. And I think Aaron Donald's probably a little short. This guy's 6 foot, 6'1". That's a problem. We don't see that a lot in the NFL, especially in the interior, right? His weight, his size, I don't love it. But he's nasty, he gets after it, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, he's got explosiveness, he's strong. The size and the length are the biggest issue you see on film, and he can lose in the run game a lot because of it. He just gets overpowered. But if you're looking for a pass blocker, you're looking, or not pass blocker, a pass rusher, a guy that can rush from the interior, which is rare right now. This is a guy that can do it, and he's got that Aaron Donald build, so I think that's going to help him a little bit.
Yep, I like you. I think the Eagles can always bulk up on that line. They have Jordan Davis, who they invested their first-round pick in last year, so you could be wondering, are they going to do that back-to-back years? Davis was really a two-down player. This guy could see some more time on the field because of that, or he could alternate with Davis. So good pick here. I mean, the Eagles don't have a lot of holes. They won the NFC for a reason. They made it to the Super Bowl. They were 3 points away from going to overtime, so not many spots that you can fill, but this is a solid pickup.
Thank you. I had a great draft.
With my final pick and our final pick in the first round of the 2023 NFL WSN draft, the Los Angeles Chargers, by way of the trade with the Kansas City Chiefs, are going to take Adetomiwa Adebawore. I'm sorry if I pronounced that. I only caught maybe 3 or 4 games of his, so not infinitely familiar with the pronunciation. But from the highlights, the read-ups, the research, the combine, all that stuff, what I've seen and what I've put together is that this is somebody who doesn't have the best production. 5 sacks one year, 4.5 sacks the other in his last 2 years of college football. what I saw looked like a player that can be phenomenal, but maybe lacks the consistency. I thought that he wasn't shedding blocks appropriately when he could. He's also a little bit smaller than you might expect for someone in his position, but somebody that can jump off the line and really get after it. They need to be in the right system. They need to be developed. What is the most interesting about him, even though a lot of people might not have him going in the first round, is he's 280 pounds, defensive lineman, and he ran a 4.4. That's unreal. And what I like about him going to the Chargers here is this is a defense with Brandon Staley, obviously, as the coach recently, and then also the players. Why can't I think? Why am I blanking on this? Derwin James. Sorry. They like these sort of hybrid players that can do a lot of things. There's no 280-pound defensive lineman in the NFL running a 4.4. So I feel like this is a spot that sort of makes sense for him. And even if it's a bit of a reach, it's the last pick in the first round. I feel like that's the spot to take a gamble.
Yeah, I mean, you can train technique. You can't train speed. So if you got a guy that can run a 4.4 at this weight, you're a freak, and you can train him to use his hands off the edge. So I think it's a good pick.
Tanner, that was the end of the 2023 WSN NFL first-round mock draft. I think that went pretty well.
That was a grind. I can't imagine what these GMs actually go through on draft night. Like, that was a grind. Drafting a fantasy team's a grind. So it must be just wicked.
You're the Bill Belichick guy. Where's your dog? Aren't you supposed to have your dog sitting next to you feeding you the picks?
No, that's only when he's that was only during the COVID year. Come on. You don't bring the dog to the office.
What, you can't have a dog if it's not COVID lockdown?
No. That was crazy. Remember the COVID draft when they were just like all the cameras are on the coaches at their homes and stuff? That was nuts.
I mean, I mean, obviously that was a horrible time, but the little bits like that, the little positives you could pick, I thought it was kind of cool because people would just give you inside access because you kind of had to. Like, there's nothing else you could do. So it was just cool to get more footage and behind the scenes stuff and how these people, go through something like drafting the NFL draft.
Yeah, this was a cool show too.
This was cool, guys. And Tanner and I host the Ride the Line podcast right here on WSN every week. Show comes out on Wednesday, so make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Smash the like button on this. Here's what I want you to do for us. And Tanner, feel free to add on to this. I want you to leave us who had the best draft, which team, not Grant or Tanner, because we are a WSN team, but which NFL team had the best draft. Which player are you high on, and which player do you think could fall out of the first round? Let us know those things. Subscribe to the channel, like I said, and check on the website because we are going to collaborate. We're going to post a review of this draft. We're going to list out every player that we took, and we're also going to give you further analysis on all of the players, which players we think have the best value, which teams we think could have the best drafts, and all sorts of other stuff you don't want to miss out on.
It's definitely embedded in this article too.
It is probably.
It's 100%. They've seen the article already, Grant, so you don't have to tell them that. But good pumping the website there. Check out WSN.com. Check out all our stuff, guys. We'll be back on Wednesday with another episode of Ride the Line.